guys, this is my first vlog of 2020 and hopefully I'm more regular about it than I have been in the past. To be honest, it's been really difficult coming up with ideas, but I finally came up with one on my drive home from work. So here it is. Five ways to become a better student pilot, and we're gonna start with 5. So something that I really like to see when I meet a new student is I like to see that you are passionate, that you're excited to start training, because I personally feed off your excitement and your enthusiasm, and that just makes the whole flight more enjoyable. Don't forget to ask questions. You know, if you don't understand something, ask. If you are excited about the industry, if you have any questions about the industry, your instructor has experience. They can hook you up with any kind of programs, any clubs like the Experimental Aircraft Association, anything like that. Your instructor probably will have connections, or at least be able to point you in the right direction, especially concerning any airplane hobbies. Tell us why you want to fly. Tell us why you're flying. Is it a hobby? Do you want to take your grandma up? Is it just your goal to solo an airplane? Is it a bucket list item? Or maybe it's more of a career. That's why I first got into it, because it was a bucket list item, but then I realized you can in fact make a career about you can make a career out of flying airplanes. That's the most badass thing I could think of. So I was like, alright, that's what I'm doing. And here I am. Not doing too bad. 4. Be patient. When you first start flight training, or if you are in flight training, you already know this, there will be delays. There's going to be weather delays, like the case of today. This is why I'm making this video actually, is because I came home early from work. The clouds are at 1,000 feet and they're just not high enough for me or my students to be able to do anything today. You're gonna have days like this. You are going to have lots of weather days. If you're still choosing between like a flight university versus a flight school, something interesting to consider is maybe a flight university in California or Florida is going to have better weather, therefore more flyable days. So if you do join a flight program or university, you have to look at their client base, see how many students they have, because if they have a bigger student than airplane ratio, you might have an aircraft delay, meaning that you might be signed up ready to fly at 12:30, but there's no airplane available for you to fly with your flight school at 12:30. These things happen. If you are going into an aviation career, this is how the whole industry is. There's always going to be weather delays. You've probably flown a commercial jet. There's going to be weather delays. There's going to be scheduling errors. There's going to be maybe your instructor is sick. There's going to be delays. You just have to remember, bottom line, just be patient. You'll get through it. It's going to be okay. It won't take that long. It might seem like it sucks, like it really, really sucks, because you're not moving forward. But in the grand scheme of things, you miss a couple days of flying because of bad weather, you're going to be doing fine. More tea. All right, number 3, take care of yourself. And I mean that in a couple different ways. For one, we have what's called the I'm Safe checklist, and it stands for illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, and eating. If you're sick, don't fly. A good instructor won't let you fly when you're sick, because they know this, and they also know that you might not necessarily have the experience of what it's like to fly with an earache. I have made that mistake. Please don't do it. It really hurts. M is for medication. Some medications you can take, but as you know, medications do come with side effects. Now make sure you check into those side effects. Ask an aeromedical examiner and he'll be able to tell you whether your drug is safe to use while you're flying or not. Another way is to look it up on the FAA's website. They have a list by drug name or prescription name. You can go in there and you can decide, or you can check if your prescription is something that you're allowed to take. Next brings me to stress. There are two kinds of stress. There's acute and chronic stress. Acute stress is your short term, and chronic is like over a long period of time. Many things can cause stress. Finances, children, family, job, everything can cause stress. Being an adult is stress, but as long as you manage it properly and it doesn't become chronic stress, you will be fine. Stress can also be affected by or affect fatigue, which is another thing we'll get into here in a second after we cover A, which is alcohol. Don't drink and fly. 8 hours bottle to throttle. Heck, 12 hours bottle to throttle. There can never be enough hours bottle to throttle. Don't fly under the influence. Don't fly with more than a 0.04% blood alcohol content. This is a regulation. If you break this regulation, you will never, ever, ever, ever fly. Next is F, which is fatigue, which is probably one of the biggest ones that I see. I work at a university, so I'm working with typically 18 to 25-year-olds. And we like to stay up late. We like to stay up very, very late, and I've seen it affect a lot of my students in a very negative way. If you don't get enough sleep, it really affects your performance. You won't be able to learn as quickly. I personally am able to tell with most of my students if they haven't gotten enough sleep because they're just not picking up like they normally would. So make sure you have 8 hours of sleep. If you really think that the night prior you're not going to be able to make the flight because you're gonna be too tired, text your instructor, call your instructor if it's a reasonable hour, let them know like, hey, I can't make it in today, you know, I'm not feeling well. Not only are you saving your money, but you're also saving your instructor's time. They might be able to fit somebody in at your block. They might be able to make a YouTube video instead. It's just very considerate to make sure that if you know if you're sick or if you're fatigued, you gotta let your instructor know. And the last one, E. E is for eating. And some people say emotion because you don't want to be emotional when you fly. But according to the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, you want to make sure that you have eaten proper amounts. You don't want your blood pressure dropping, you don't want your blood sugar dropping, etc. So make sure you eat enough, you eat plenty, you take care of yourself. And the last one, not on the I'm Safe checklist, but it's a very good honorable mention, as we will call it, hygiene. Please, please wear deodorant. I'm weird enough, I put deodorant on before this video, and then I realized I don't really need to do that, but that's just a great habit to get into. Please wear deodorant on the airplane. You're going to be working within a 5-foot space of another human being, and we really appreciate it when you smell good. Not only is it healthier and better for you, but it's a more pleasant experience for the instructor too. It's just always more pleasant to sit down next to a person who smells good versus a person who probably hasn't showered in a week and really needs to and really should. So please, just take care of yourself. And this brings me to number 2. Be professional. What this means to me personally is that you are on time and that you communicate. The bar is set really low. That is 2 things. Be on time and communicate. If you are on time, that will also set your reputation as a student, as well as if you get into career, if that's what you're going for, it'll create a really good habit. Second one, communicate. Please, please. If you aren't going to make a flight, and I mentioned this in the last point, if you're not going to make it to a flight, tell your instructor. Text them as soon as you know. A lot of the times, your instructor is getting paid hourly by the flight hour. When you cancel on them, you are costing them usually about $120. And if your instructor is dependent on that income, it can really, really influence their livelihood and their lifestyle and living. Eating, I'm very passionate about eating, and I need to be able to pay for what I eat because I eat a lot. But the more you communicate with them, the better, especially if you're honest about what's going on. If you really did blow a tire on the highway and you just can't make the flight a few minutes before, a lot of instructors empathize with that. We've all been there, we've all had car troubles, it's okay. But if you're out all night and you decide to go partying and you don't let us know until last minute that you're not going to make it, we're not going to be very happy about that. So just please be honest and communicate and be professional to your instructor and to everyone around you, because if this is your career, your reputation will go a very long way. So you want to make sure that it counts for a lot. You are setting the tone of the rest of your life, or at least the rest of your aviation career, based on your professionalism. Last but not least, my favorite point of all, point number 1. This is the one that, there's a reason why I saved this for last, because this is the biggest thing that I have seen through all my students, all the places that I work, and that is coming in prepared. Please come in prepared. If your instructor asks you to do something before your next flight, please do that. If you, for some reason, have a time crunch, maybe you're working too much between one flight and the next flight, tell your instructor. Maybe he or she can give you more steps. Like, okay, well, can you at least do this? Or at least, read this portion of the pilot's handbook, Aeronautical Knowledge. Coming in prepared helps the whole flight and the whole lesson go more smoothly. It'll help your training as a whole move quicker. If you study, if you go ahead and ask your instructor, hey, what can I do next? Is there an assignment I can do? Is there a reading I can do? Is there a YouTube video I can watch to help me with radio calls? Watch ATC Live for that, by the way. It's really helps. Just be prepared. It's the way I like to say it, because I'm actually a pretty lazy person, is the more work you do now, the less you have to do later. So instead of cramming for a check ride or a test, if you do your due diligence and practice or study ahead of time, then you're not going to have to spend a whole night beforehand freaking out and getting really anxious for this test. At least in my experience, that's what's worked best. Alright, so there you have it. It's the top 5 ways to be a better student pilot, or just a pilot in general. Honestly, I think these could even apply to me. They can apply to anyone. So thank you guys for watching. If you would just do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button down below. That'd be great, because that helps the mighty YouTube algorithm decide who's who and who's what, and more people can see this video and more people can be better student pilots. Thanks guys, bye.